Today's tip for better technique, we're going to work on posture and alignment. So I'm going to give you some alignment cues, imageries that you can use when you're taking class that can help you to keep your alignment throughout class. So there's a couple of things in dance that are really important when we're dealing with alignment. Number one is your foot placement. So it's important that your weight is evenly distributed through your feet. So if I turn sideways, I'm not leaning too far forward or too far back, falling on my heels. That will make you stumble when you're doing different dance steps. So really important to have your weight centered in your feet, slightly forward towards the balls of your feet. So I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my heels, just a little bit. The other thing is we want to focus on pulling up on the legs. And what we mean by that is if you think about lifting up on your inside arches of your feet first, just imagine somebody brushing up on the arches of your feet, right? On the inside arches, and it's like lifting up on the inner thighs, right? And this just lifts your arches so that you're not dropping your knees in. So it'll help your legs stay in what we call parallel position, which is with your toes straight forward instead of turned out. This is turned out, and this is parallel. So in the parallel position, we want to focus on even weight through the feet, down towards the balls of the feet, lifting up through the inner arches and the inner thighs. And then the next thing we want to focus on is activating the core and getting the pelvis neutral. So we're going to zip up the jeans. Imagine you have a really tight pair of jeans on and you zip up the zipper. So when you do that, you're actually activating all the muscles in the front of the body, zipping up. And at the same time, I want you to think about brushing gently down on your tailbone. So this creates a circular energy in the body that actually helps to adjust the tilt of the pelvis. So a lot of times we're in class, you'll see people arching their back. So we just want to have neutral pelvis. We don't want to be tucked under either. It's a neutral pelvis, zipping up on the front, dropping down on your tailbone. Just feel that for a second. So just go ahead and you can even close your eyes and just stand even on your feet. Maybe you rock back and forth for a minute, right? And just get your weight to center in, back and forth, and then you center in. And you want to feel your shoulders right over your hips. And then you're going to zip the zipper up. Just gently brush up on the pubic bone and down on the tailbone, right? Letting the pelvis fall into alignment. After we do that, we're going to think about the box, so the shoulders and the hip relationship. Shoulders are aligned over the hips rather than forward or arching back, right? So you just want to have the shoulders right over the hips, zipping up, dropping down. Another cue that really helps, for many, many years, I had what's called lordosis, a really arched back, and all my dance teachers would always say, tuck your butt in, tuck, tuck, tuck. But what I really needed to do was just think about activating in the front. I was actually really weak in the front in my abs, so I was arching my back. And so I activated the front of my body, which helped me fall into alignment into that neutral spine. Another thing that really helped me was softening in the rib cage. Sometimes I would poke my ribs way out. And so softening in the rib cage actually can help lengthen the spine and get it into that neutral alignment. So an exercise you can do is you can put your hands right on your ribs, find your ribs, and then take a deep breath and really just feel your ribs expand, pushing into your hands. And then as you exhale, soften the ribs. You'll feel your rib cage melt and your hands melt down. I can actually see a change in the space between my fingertips. And then when I exhale, my fingertips come together. So I'm activating what's called these intercostal muscles. And the intercostal muscles are pulling and contracting the ribs. So the ribs come in, use it for breathing. And exhaling, right, squeezes the ribs. This will actually activate the core and help you, once again, to get the upper back in alignment, right? So when I soften the rib cage, exhale, soften your ribs, right? It's gonna help drop the ribs down and get my upper back in alignment. And it's also gonna make me aware that I'm not doing this, right? So I don't wanna drop the ribs so far in that I'm doing this with my shoulders. So remember, the shoulders stay over the hips and you just soften the ribs, lift up on the pubic bone, drop down on your tailbone. If you do this before every class, you will fall right into alignment. So I lift up in the front, I drop down in the back, I soften the rib cage. The next thing I do is I draw an invisible cape. So imagine that you're wearing this beautiful cape that's draping down your back. And I want you to just brush your clavicle. That's this bone right here. And when you brush this, right, it helps you to release these muscles in the front. So I'm releasing in the front, right up in here. And right away what that does is it allows my shoulders, all this tension that I'm holding here, it allows the shoulders to release. And then the cape image is that I imagine that the cape is running down my back and it's releasing all these muscles down my back. So I draw my cape. It comes up the front here, across my shoulders. So it's releasing the arms so they fall open a little more without over exaggerating, right? It's just a gentle opening. And then the cape runs down the back. So I feel a sense of weight going down my shoulders and down the back. And right away, it helps my upper body to be in alignment. So now I'm not rounding. My shoulders are open without overextending, right? So you've heard for many years, somebody might say, stand tall. And the very first thing somebody does is they lift their ribs and they pull the shoulders back. Well, we don't want to dance like this because we can't turn, right? Throws us off center. Can't balance. So it's really important that we get the ribs to soften and the pelvis to fall into alignment. And then the shoulders to come over the hips by opening and releasing in the clavicle. So you just brush, and then you imagine the cape going down. And I love to take my hands down my partner's back. If you have a friend or someone you can do that with, just ask them to put their hands on your back and brush down the back. And you'll feel all those muscles down the back relax. And then the last thing, most important, is head placement. So I like to imagine, right, that there's like a little pole going through the center of my body, right? That's my center axis, that I can turn my head around like this. Kind of like a merry-go-round, you know how the horses have a pole going through the center? So I imagine I have this pole going through my center. I can slide up and down the pole, and it goes right through the midline of my body. I also turn, when I turn around that pole. It's going through the center of my body. And so if I can envision that, that gets my head in alignment, right? So natural alignment is not always with the ears exactly over the shoulders, but you don't want your head pushing forward or pulling back. So you want to be aware of what's going on with your neck, right? So you think about your ears over your shoulders, but they're not exactly over the shoulders. But if you think of the pole going right through the center of your head, right? And if you also imagine that when you nod yes and no, you just big nod yes and no, and then you make it a little smaller and a little smaller and a little smaller till you feel your nose in line with this big bone in the back of your head here. There's a bone, you can feel it. And so if you put your finger on that bone and on your nose and you try to center, you don't want like imagine water, and you don't want water spilling out the front or up the back. You want to keep the water on this little plate, right? And you want to keep the little drop of water not rolling either way. So that's what we're doing here is we're balancing the head. And then the last thing is you just touch the top of your head, find the center and just touch it, tap it. And think of pressing your head up towards your hand. So and then I just tap it and I put my hand here. And it just brings awareness to the top of your head and the energy is going out the top. So I imagine like I'm a water spout and I'm spouting water everywhere. Ooh, right? So if you imagine that, right, your energy is going up and immediately what it's going to do is going to help you lift up instead of dropping down. A lot of times people are dropping their weight down, right? But if you think of lifting up, 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 out the top of the head, the water is squirting out. So the images that I want you to think about for your alignment, starting in neutral position with your parallel feet, is that your weight is centered in your feet. So just take a gentle rock, lift up on the arches, lift up on the inner thighs, so that activates the legs right away. Then you're gonna drop the tailbone down, lift the pubic bone up just by brushing. Then you're gonna soften the rib cage. And after you soften the rib cage, then I want you to draw your cape and just brush the clavicle and let the cape run down the back. And then the last thing is getting the head in alignment, right? So we want to make sure we're turning on our center axis. That's why we do these warm-ups. We turn our head side to side. So you want to make sure you're not pulling your head forward on those, but the head turns just directly side to side. And then we tilt the head this way and that way, right? So we're just getting the head into alignment when we do those warm-ups. And then the last thing is just tap the top of your head and let the energy go out the top feel like you're lifting your head up to the ceiling, or if you have a friend put their hand there and you reach your head up to the hand, and right away it pulls up everything and you're nice and lifted, and now you're ready to dance. So that's the tutorial for your alignment. I hope that helped. Keep practicing this. This is something you do every day. If you're driving in the car, think about when you're sitting, zipping up, softening the rib cage, draw your cape even while you're driving. So when you have your cape, it's going to help your shoulders to stay nice and long rather than pulling up. And be aware when you're on your phone. So all day long, be mindful of your alignment, right? And that's going to transfer into the dance class and into any other type of fitness that you do. And it'll give you longevity. Your body will last a lot longer without all the pains that most people experience from misalignment. So we'll see you the next time. Practice that every day. Take care.